So as tattooing has evolved, it is a very popular career choice now. So a lot of people are entering the industry with university, tertiary education, a lot of art skills. So just did a survey in my studio the other week. We got 21 artists and 16 of them have university artistic degrees. So it's a big leg up to do it. I get asked a lot by people, will you teach me to tattoo? And my reply is always no, because I'm too busy doing what I'm doing. And I personally feel my skills lie better in helping people that are already tattooing, maybe knock off the rough edges and help them progress more. So one of these guys down here, Brad, who worked at my studio for quite a while as a manager, he asked for an apprenticeship and I flat out said no. Probably had hopes I would change my mind, but I was able to give Brad some skills on working in a studio, learning how to answer the phone, answer the emails, clean, sterilise, all this sort of stuff that we as people that want to become apprentices just want to get straight to the skin. But you need these basic fundamentals. And as we're now in such a digital age, a lot of stuff is online. Personally, you need to have good communication skills to become a good, successful tattooer. Artistic stuff can be learnt and honed on your own. You cannot hone communication skills on a device or on your own. You need to do it in real time in front of someone. When people are coming in to get tattooed, they're nervous, could be going through some traumas or trying to get over trauma or excited or everything. So you've got to learn a lot of skills of how to deal with people. So a modern way of entering an apprenticeship is as a counterhand, a manager, this sort of thing. And this is where you will learn all of those things and then almost prove yourself to the shop owner that you're dedicated, and then they will be willing to pass over all the knowledge they've learnt over the years. Working under a good artist is generally going to fast track your career because you're going to not make all the mistakes that they made. So you're sort of getting the playbook for success. You also have to be very open to criticism. Like one of my best friends said, my son wants to be a tattooer. Can I bring him in? I want him to show you your stuff. And I'm like, oh, all right, here we go. Cool, I'll make an exception. Comes in, shows me his portfolio. It's literally horrible. So, but he's looking at his son's drawing through a father's eyes, thinking my son's amazing. Unfortunately, society does tell us we can be anything. We can do whatever we want to do. But in this instance of tattooing, because it is so important of what you're putting on somebody's skin, doesn't always work that way. So I had to sit down with this young guy, with his dad next to me, one of my great friends of 20 years, and say, it's horrible. I only have 15 minutes. I'm not going to waste your time saying, yeah, this is cool, this is not. So you need to be able to be open to criticism and also then be willing to push yourself. And like I mentioned previously in that tattoo history talk, art, any form of art is generally isolating and lonely. It's not like Miami TV show where everyone's around and living this fantasy reality dream. It's sacrificing friendships, relationships, your social life, dedicating time to your craft that will then set you up for a great career if you keep working hard. You can't really take your foot off the gas pedal because there's so much competition out there now. People are coming up so strong and fast. Realistically, you could become an amazing tattooer in 2 to 3 years by listening to a very good mentor. While I wait for Todd to come, does anybody have any questions? And if not, I'll just keep freestyling. Sir?
In terms of applying to particularly go through your content and management sessions,
Yep. It's case by case, studio by studio. Like Brad came in and just caught me one day outside the shop and showed me all these designs. So I'm like, I'm pretty nice and open, and I'll give people the time if I've got it. So he caught me in a great moment. I looked at what he was doing. I said, man, you've got some skills. You've done some really cool stuff. It was a lot of iPad stuff, wasn't it, Brad? Yeah. So I could see that just by a brief interaction with Brad, he was a nice guy. He'd put in the work on his own to get there. Comes from a graphic design background. Probably thought, I thought it was cool. It's not so cool. Tattooing's way cooler. So I want to go down that road. Case by case, we get a lot of emails. We do sometimes get people just turning up to the shop, which I get, but don't always have the time to talk to people. So maybe an email, first of all, is a nice introduction, asking for a time to talk to the owner or the manager. Maybe in that email, send a selection of some of the designs you've worked on and then go from there. And it'll just slowly evolve by that. Some shops just might go delete. Others might go, hit me back in 3 more months and we'll go from there. So there's lots of different avenues. Tattooing has its own filter system. If the door gets closed straight away, don't be devastated, because there's plenty more doors that are going to get slammed in your face. But that's part of what you need to do to build up resilience, to really want it. So I hope that answered your question. Cool. Anything else before I get my mate Todd up here? Yes. No, I think that's pretty good. I'll give my perspective and then we'll get Todd. So when you enter an apprenticeship or tattooing in general, here we go. You're not specialising straight away, and right now with an economic downturn, there's a lot of artists that are established in a certain style, but they're finding it hard to stay busy now. So if you're a versatile artist, it's a good thing. And also, the best grounding is a street shop for any apprentice, rather than going straight to a private studio. So when you're versatile, you're learning all these different styles, different body parts, different machine techniques, that sort of thing. So I personally think it's a good thing. And you?
We've got to learn how to stretch the body to just even do larger scale stuff. I think a lot of people are getting caught in hand size tattoo genres, because it's easy and they only do arms and legs, but once you start learning more, you start progressing more, you know what I mean? And that's when it starts getting really interesting. Yeah, different styles, different skills. Yep. Translates onto the body, and then back to communication skills and interpersonal skills with people. If you're banging out 10 walk-in tattoos a day, you're going to gain far more from that than, say, 2 medium hand-sized pieces. And tattooing can be pretty confronting, right? You're up close and personal with someone. Some people's personal hygiene isn't the greatest. Some artists' personal hygiene isn't the greatest. There's so many different factors that you have to become accustomed to and deal with. People might get hot, sweaty, clammy. People might pass out. Yep.
Soil themselves. All sorts of crazy situations. So you need humility. You need to be humble. People skills are the one.
Definitely. Yep.
Any other questions? I've got a question for you.
Yes.
You've apprenticed quite a few people.
Yeah.
So you have one in the crowd here, or just about to finish,
Shell,
and one hoping to
stand
get
up, Shell.
apprenticeship.
Stand up, go on, stand up.
Yeah,
yeah, she is.
So
she's progressed
give us a rundown of Shell's career, because Shell's a prime example of someone who's obsessed by tattooing. It's not 7 o'clock, I'm going home.
You got to tell her to go home.
Pedal to the metal. You're going to wipe out your social life, you're going to wipe out your friend circle, but the rewards are there. So how long's Shell been tattooing?
She's in her 2nd year now, But so with at 13 feet, we're easygoing, but there's a way to do things. You know what I mean? So as far as taking on an apprentice, we have them do the counter for a year at least, and it was more in Haymarket, which is really busy, and it's more of a nighttime sort of street shop. So you get all sorts. So if you can get through the year of the counter and people and learning, I'll teach you to start tattooing, because that's like a big thing. Like if you can't communicate with people, you don't know your styles, you're not going to get far. Yeah. Not in the way we do it anyway. Yeah. You know.
And if Shell, are you tattooing today, Shell? No. Okay, yeah. Check out Shell's portfolio online. Like, she's a powerhouse and dedicated to it. And that's what I mean about tattooing. If you want to be... Okay, Todd's not going to take someone on, or any artist isn't going to take someone if you just want to be good. Because there's plenty of good tattooers. You want to aim for the top. Yeah. And this is where action speaks louder than words. So a lot of people don't want to sacrifice their nightlife. They don't want to sacrifice their weekends. Don't want to, and that's okay. But you've got to really work out whether you really want it. And this is where talk can be cheap and your actions follow up your true belief at what you want to do.
Definitely. And a lot of tattooers these days get into it as a part-time thing, or like in tattooing, there's no like retirement really like fund, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's like you don't want to be doing part-time now when you've got the opportunity to, work hard really and set yourself up, because you can. There's not many jobs in the world or in anything that you can do what we do and make a living.
For me, it's one of those last career choices where you literally get in what you put out, and there's nowhere to hide. You can't blame it on the tradie. You can't blame it on the other one. You can't blame it on your machines. It's all on you. Yep. So with that, can be incredibly stressful, a lot of pressure. Like, I've seen some amazing artists on paper just crumble on skin because they can't deal with people. They can't deal with people freaking out. They freak out. Anxiety takes over. You get the fear and you're fucked. The shaky hand, the trembling hand syndrome, it's real.
It is definitely real.
And then you've got others that are just sound-minded, focused, and will progress from there. Everyone progresses at a different stage as well. Like me, I'm come from an era very different than now, and I'm very envious of so many younger artists because they're going to have such a longer, greater, productive career than I had. Because my era I was like a street shop soldier for 15 years. But in that time, I learned to talk, I learned to be a craftsman, a mechanic, an electrician, all these things. Learned to be a salesman. I used to work in a shop where we had no prices on the wall. We would gauge people, profile them, and then, oh yeah, you got a nice watch. Oh, you're from Germany, I know you pay more money there. Oh, you're from Sweden, you definitely pay more money. You come from here, you pay a bit less, and you adjust it. So, and it's never ending. It's never ending. It's not a job where you're just gonna, I've finished my apprenticeship now. That's just the beginning. It's non-stop. Even both of us at this stage in our career, I'm still daunted by the talent here, the talent in my own studio. I can't afford to take my foot off the gas pedal.
You can't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, as being sort of in our position. Is that working?
I think so.
Being in our position, it is confronting for us to see the talent, and you do really want to keep up, basically. But also when people move on, you want them to move on better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. You want people, they're part of, okay, so Todd's teaching people, they become part of his legacy. Yeah. And they're forever attached to Todd, because he gave them the beginning. Back to when I was doing the tattoo history talk before, it's a legacy. You become part of a family tree. And then hopefully you do really well, and then you will find someone worthy of that knowledge and you will pass that on.
Yep. Yeah, and it's I think in the last few years that's been lost a little bit with the technology and, you know, the pen syndrome, which we all use too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's just about you've got to learn about history, because if we don't keep passing it on, no one's going to give a fuck anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
like, what's a good way for someone to approach a counterhand job? Like, every studio is different, or what skills are you looking for in a potential counterhand?
Customer service, number one.
Punctuality.
I was
Brad?
about to say that. Yeah. Sick days, your arm better have fallen off.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why it sounds harsh, but like when you're a tattooer, like, and you get to a certain level, people are traveling from all over to get tattooed.
Yeah.
Like, sickness is like a thing that you just have to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, you know, the way COVID's been.
And this needs to be ingrained personally into you from the beginning. Like, my pet hate as a studio owner is when artists, and I've had to let artists go that were close friends, amazing tattooers, because they're just running late. Bad communication skills,
Constantly.
customers waiting there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're taking the piss.
Yeah.
Maybe 30 minutes or whatever, okay, but if you're drawing the design on the day, that just shows your customer that you don't give a fuck.
Yep.
And this is a
You're
big
too
deal
busy.
for... When I get tattooed, it's a big deal to me, even after all these years. So, and Sydney is a busy city. Everyone's busy now. So you have to be aware of people. You know, it could be someone's birthday. They could have a birthday dinner booked in, and you're putting that person 2 hours late. They might have waited, even if they've waited a day or a week or a year, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. You're then abusing your power as a tattoo artist and that shop to just run your own life and think it's cool and easy to be late and fuck them over.
Well, we're servicing them.
Way.
They're not servicing us. That's the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like,
and now
they're paying us to, you know, give them a service. So we have to be like there on time and treat them with respect, and you know what I mean. Like, and so they can get on with their day. We sort of fit into their day, not they fit into ours.
Yeah, none of it's really groundbreaking, what we're talking about.
It's not.
We're not explaining rocket science here. It's just treat people well, treat people the way you want to be treated, be open to learning, and be prepared to work hard.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, probably lose some friendships, lose some relationships, lose some family time, lose your social life. But at the end of the day, you then are in charge of your life. Tattooing can take you interstate, it can take you overseas, it can take you anywhere. And then once you get to a level and you develop your skill set, your social media, all this sort of stuff, your personal brand, rather than working under the brand of a studio, you're set to go and you can take it where you want it. Very rare that's available today.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we, as artists and studio owners, you know, we understand that it is the brand within the brand. Like, we're there for the greater good of the artist, not just our, you know, our benefits at all. Everyone's got a benefit.
Maybe with that benefit, give us a little breakdown after you've done the year, say on the counter, what's then the progression as an artist? Like, are you tattooing fake skin? Are you tattooing oranges? Are you straight onto people?
Well, I came up with this thing. Just one day I was walking past the fruit shop, and I was like thinking, like, what's bruises and soft? And I was like, mangoes. Mangoes is very close. And the next day, if you put them in the fridge, they bruise. So you know where you've hit it way too hard. You know what I mean? So we started doing mangoes. And that worked out quite well, actually.
Stenciling or just
Stenciling, so, you know, straight lines. Just stenciling straight lines, doing that first. Like, no pictures, just straight lines. And I think I made the guys do, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 mangoes. Like, it was getting up there. They're not cheap either. So you're starting to get like the idea of how tattooing works.
Yeah.
And so just straight lines, no pictures. It wasn't pictures.
Yeah.
Just to get the machine and like the feel and the depth and, just having to draw something straight with something that shakes. You know what I mean?
So it'd be fair to say as well, you're going to learn patience in your apprenticeship, which is an integral key in it. That will last you your whole career.
Yeah.
And it's step by step. So
yeah.
After mangoes, what then?
Mangoes. And then we got them to do flash that was simplified. Doing more traditional flash, but just using black, not shading, like blocking, and doing flash sheets. And then we put it out there for let people know, their apprentice tattoos, their first tattoos, And because they practiced on mangoes, and they didn't do 3, they did 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're ready. They're ready to go, And so it was still scary, and it's good to see them worried, because that's exactly how it really is.
Yeah, it's a big deal marking someone for the rest of their life.
It's for life. So we did that, and then so we did the flash sheets, promoted it, and then got it out there for the public, and it was bombs away from there.
And then I imagine in all of that time as well, Todd's overseeing, talking needle configuration, machine settings, guiding, maybe move your hand a little faster, a little slower, maybe sit this way, maybe trying something different. And I think that's where you can get so much head noise going on.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, especially when you're live, you're doing a tattoo. It's scary shit.
Yeah, I sort of say, tattooing is so simple, but it's so difficult.
Yep.
Like one of my mentors, a guy called Trevor McStay, I've been tattooing over 30 years now, and I was lucky he took a very good interest in me when I was younger and sort of helped me a lot. He still has the ability now, when I work at his shop, he'll stand behind me and I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I'm like, oh my God, here. And that's because I still see him as my mentor, and I owe so much to him. And as artists, we're going to have a bit of self-doubt, and it's a good thing. If you get too cocky, too arrogant, tattooing is riddled with careers that have gone like this, bang.
Yeah.
So you've just got to take it one day at a time, one tattoo at a time, and just keep progressing. And that's why here today, walk around, like for Shell to be tattooing here at this convention after 2 years is a testament to her dedication, but also Todd's formula. And now she's got the keys to the city. So now it's going to be interesting to see where she takes her career. And, Todd mentioned before, palm-sized tattoos, you can get relatively good relatively quick.
Yeah.
But then once you start moving to bigger sections of the body, it's a lot more different and involved and challenging.
Yeah, like Shell lined a Japanese sleeve about 3 weeks ago, and so we went through the whole process, and we put the meditation music on, as you do, and that's like a bit of a tradition of ours at 13 feet. Like when you get to the stage of lining up a sleeve, I was like, all right, make sure I'm going to be there. We got there early, got the music on, and what was it, Mongolian throat singing?
but it's a big thing. Like, it's like having another set of children.
Totally, yeah.
Where you're putting a lot of time, and
really
Todd's dedicating any mentor teaching an apprentice is taking away a lot of their own personal time, of their own family, their own life outside of work. So it is a big thing. Any questions?
As you're developing your portfolio for getting an apprenticeship, anything like that, thinking about drawing for those large scale designs, so you kind of feel a bit more perhaps going in, what are some compositional tips that you have?
I'll go first. I'd probably say I wouldn't focus too much on that at this stage.
No.
I'd wait till you get a bit deeper, but it is good to have a variety of maybe line drawings, some watercolour, some coloured pencil, some iPad renditions, and just develop your skill set across all of those. And you can walk around here and see how people present themselves.
Yeah.
So you probably want to get your skill set really good, so you're throwing out a big net. So you're then showing a potential mentor that you've put in the work. And I'm sure there are online tutorials that can help you, and you can learn from there. Or like I mentioned before, if someone says, no, we don't have an apprenticeship here, you can even say something like, would you mind if I emailed back in 6 months or came back and saw you in 6 months, and would you mind giving me 15 minutes of critique, and go from there. And if one person says no, just try another until you find someone that is going to, crack the door open a little bit.
Yeah, like for us, because we're sort of trying to keep with traditions, so to speak, a lot of the guys the entry level would be traditional tattoos. So that style, because that's just like the beginning, and that's the perfect like palm size sort of setup. The designs have been done for over 100 years and they work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't have to put too much thought into that. It's just about getting it right. And then that opens up the rest of the traditional styles, like the bigger scale stuff. But that's way later on. You don't have to worry about that in the beginning. I would just stick with more traditional imagery, like simplified, and then and line weight. That's a thing. Yeah,
and with that line weight, with traditional stuff too, there's a little bit room for error. Like if you're straight in with a 3-liner, it's going to look horrible. Yeah. It's going to look like you've tattooed it driving over speed bumps. So, but also just because we say this, it's not the only way.
No, it's not.
You're all connected online these days. You probably follow tattooers that have done apprenticeships or in them. It's open to everyone now. You can just send them a message and ask, hey, what are you doing? And you go from there. So there's no one clear pathway. No. There's many.
Yeah.
I hope that answers something. Cool. Any other questions? Anyone? Yes.
Sorry, first of all, thank you so much for putting this event on and stand up. Like, it's very helpful to all of us here.
Thank you.
What happens when you're already in your apprenticeship, but your mentor is very hands-off and you're not really getting the guidance that you would like? Do you think it's better, like, supplementing yourself, like doing much you can, learning about the history, like you said, and doing independent research? Or how would you guys owning your own shops and being mentors feel about taking on someone who maybe hasn't started their apprenticeship but
it would definitely depend on the situation.
Yeah, it's case by case. Like for me, earlier in my career, I worked for people that were good, but weren't great communicators or were hands off. I was like given the keys to the shop, here you go.
Yeah.
So what I started to do was go and get tattooed by people that had more skills than that guy or the other guy, and learn that way. Try and develop a relationship. Like I mentioned before, a guy called Trevor McStay. So I'd already been tattooing quite a few years. Trevor to me was the top of the mountain. So I finally got there, got appointments with him, and he would allow me to ask 2 questions. So I'd go and get tattooed all day and I had 2 questions to ask. But I would watch everything he did like a hawk and try and remember it. And then over that time I developed a better relationship with him, and he's still my mentor today and been one of the biggest contributors to my career. So there's no case by case. I imagine at a period of time, and every situation's different, you might start to find somebody else. It might open another door. You might eventually leave that studio, but it's just personal resilience. Keep going, keep pushing. Don't be despondent from it. You can a little bit, but don't just go down in the dumps and bitch on the world or that person, because they could have some stuff going on in their life that we're not privy to. Everyone's got a battle in their head. Everyone's going through hell one way or another at some time. So definitely start to look out. Like psychologically, young boys around 14 years of age look for a second father figure. It might be a footy coach, it might be a teacher. Same thing's going to happen in any industry. So look for somebody else that you can glean some knowledge on, that will invest some time into you, and then see what happens from there. But just don't become despondent from it.
Yeah, and I would stick with it. It shows resilience too. Like you can still grow knowledge without learning it in the shop. You know what I mean? Like
Events like this.
Yeah, because if you sort of if someone's given you a start, you do owe them a little bit to a certain degree. You know, like they might not be perfect all the time, but to stick with it for a certain amount of time, you know. Yeah.
Like for me,
unless it's horrible, like obviously.
First 15 years of my career, I worked for guys that showed me how to fuck your life up, you know. So it was as valuable as it was invaluable at the same time. So I learned those life skills by observing all that stuff, and I got a lot of other artistic skills by travelling overseas, going to conventions, getting tattooed by my tattoo heroes, asking them questions, all that sort of thing. You're not always going to be like, you are going to have some ups and downs, but it's part of the cycle.
Yeah, and there is no such thing as a perfect world, you know what I mean? Like to go and experience it, and you got to take it on yourself to go get on the plane, book flights, go and learn stuff, you know what I mean? And that's part of the experience.
Yeah, even last night we had dinner with Freddie Corbett and Eddie Deutsch, and they were talking about Freddie was 21 working at Ed Hardy's shop, Tattoo City. He goes, at that age, I was so nervous. I was suffering so much anxiety, because he goes, look at me. I'm here and I'm working across from this legend. I've got Eddie there. Like, you guys are tattooing rings around me. So there can be pressure as well. And we look at them and think, oh, these are these legends that, you know, everyone suffers it. I think that's part of being artistic as well. But you've just got to not let it take over, you know. Because then no one wins. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. I think Instagram's probably the one. Like, there's so much stuff going around now. I think there's probably even some dedicated pages that will pop up. But as soon as they pop up, bang, they're going to get flooded.
And if you are getting tattooed, is always a good start.
Yeah, traditionally that would be a way you would build a relationship.
And then, like, you know, the shop that you get tattooed in, or, you know, I know it can be a lot broader than that, and you're just like, I just want to be a counterhand. But most of the time, people, like for us, we would advertise it, and people that get tattooed or have knowledge about tattoos or whatever, they're going to move up the top of the list, because we sort of know them. They're around it. They understand, you know, what our business runs like. And yeah, that's probably that.
I just had an interview for a new counter manager recently. Told me he wanted to tattoo again. I was very open, but I said, look, if you stay here, you know, working at the studio is going to give you a leg up. You're going to learn these skills that you can translate over into an apprenticeship. And I said, all right, can you please email this person and then call them and just make sure they're going to come tomorrow, right? The response I got half an hour later was, yeah, I emailed him. And I went, and he went, if I don't get a reply by the end of the day, I'll email them again, and then I'll call them tomorrow. So basic communication skills went in one ear, out the other. So it's listening, doing, observing, being proactive.
Definitely. Yeah, that's, well, because we're street shops. You know, people walk in and get walk-ins because they're called walk-ins. You don't turn them away. Yeah. Or call them later. It's like they walked in.
And that walk-in could be 30 seconds of communication to 10 minutes. It's case by case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Anything else? Thank you. I hope we were of some benefit and it was of some interest.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and there'll be another one tomorrow, which will be a different variation of this today, same as the tattoo history one. But obviously, everyone here is interested in it. Just walk around, find your favourite artist, go and get tattooed by them, because if you want a tattoo, you should want to be covered in tattoos, you know. So go and get tattooed and enjoy it. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, that's okay as well, you know. But if you put your nose to the grindstone and you're really willing to do all of that dedication and sacrifice, it's all ahead for you. All right, thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.